Kashimo was a kind humble farmer who always led his life through prosperity and peace. He was considered the kindest of his era and followed the ways of Confucius, being a devout believer in the concept of filial piety. One day, when the kindness games began, he was brought back as one of the kindest souls to inhabit a corrupted body in order to compete with other kind souls. Having cultivated virtue for centuries, he easily sensed something wrong in the air, and immediately tracked it back to the locations of the monster Yuji and the financially responsible Hikari. They were having a calm dispute about how they should go about the kindness games with Hikari shouting at Yuji, "I'm not the type of guy to gamble or take my chances on anything, we need to play it safe and go recruit others." Yuji simply retorted, "I don't care, we can destroy this kindness game from the inside if we brutally murder everyone else. And possibly also eat them." This enraged Hikari, who gave Yuji a light tap on the shoulder to snap him out of his bloodlust. While this was happening, Yaga Afton's creation, Panda, was begging others to destroy his body so that the souls of the orphans who were no longer controlled by the kidnapper could be freed. Will the kind Kashimo intervene with these hooligans? Our savior and messiah Kenjaku is such a nice guy, I wish I could be like him. He started off the kindness games with an act of compassion like no other, saving a poor sick citizen from his illness by offering him help to get to the nearest hospital. Elsewhere he had sent out kindness androids to inform others about the kindness games, with one of them unfortunately being captured by the cannibal Yuji and financially responsible Hikari's group. They decided to split up in order to get a better understanding of how to win, with Hikari telling Yuji and Megumi to play it safe and to not gamble their lives. Obviously, the two Nimrods didn't heed his warning and immediately began enacting their own plan to murder everyone. Yuji decided to skydive like he's in Fortnite or some bullshit, but two kind citizens by the names of Harold and Hannah recognized this cannibal from his participation in the Shibuya massacre. Wanting retribution for the citizens lost in the mass murder, they immediately began valiantly fighting against this monster. Unfortunately, however, they were no match for this savage nincompoop. Elsewhere, Megumi was luring an innocent lady to an alleyway so that he could butcher her and cut up her body parts. But wait, what's this? A low-life thug by the name of Rin Amai is approaching Yuji? Will the cannibal murder him, or will they form a deadly alliance? Remy was a helpful government agent sent to Japan in order to participate in the kindness games. She was the Secretary of Happiness, and her mission was to spread joy everywhere. She first encountered Megumi Zenin, and recognizing him as the son of the great, most bodacious hero to ever walk the earth, Toji Zenin, she immediately invited him to go to a nice party. What she didn't have any knowledge of, however, was that Megumi was secretly plotting to kill her and chop off her hands to keep as a trophy, and when questioned about the machete that Megumi was carrying, he lied saying it was for cutting vegetables. They traveled long and far, with Remy noticing that Megumi was always keeping his distance away from her for no apparent reason. When asked why, he stated that he was simply a slow walker, but in reality Megumi Zenin absolutely despised women unlike his kind cousin Naoya. Soon, they finally arrived at the party and Remy introduced Megumi to the coupon giver Reggie. He gave a warm welcome to Megumi, saying he was free to have any drinks and snacks he liked and offered to give him a 90% discount on all furniture in IKEA. But Megumi hated Swedish people, and this made him finally snap and show his true colors. He summoned his evil Shinigami, Devilish K9, to infect the two innocent partygoers with rabies. Will Reggie defend himself from this monster? Reggie was a selfless Swedish man who gave out free coupons for food and donated to the homeless. He always cared for everybody, especially his own friends, never doubting them or treating them poorly. For this reason, he was a prime candidate for the kindness games where he accumulated a lot of happy points by various acts such as donating to orphanages, helping with groceries and overall just being a good Samaritan. Soon, he met Megumi Zenin, a delinquent who held disdain for all Reggie stood for. Remy had brought this evildoer to his party under the assumption that he was a hero like his father, but she was severely mistaken. Megumi told Reggie that his generosity was a weakness, and that only the greedy survive in this world. Reggie responded, "All Jujutsu sorcerers should be kind people, we are all human and we should do everything we can to help one another." These words were powerful and moving, so much so that Megumi immediately took offense and began planning to attack him. While this was happening, Yuji the Annihilator was beating up a bunch of teenagers for fun and planned to eat them afterward. Sensing this act of evil from miles away, Reggie tried convincing Megumi that he could still be redeemed, but of course his pleas were met with denial. Will kindness ever turn the wicked back to good? Takaba was a degenerate comedian with the worst sense of humor. He would always run around half naked, scaring off all the women from the streets and was arrested several times for his public indecency. One day he was sent to help Megumi the poacher in murdering the kind Swedish man Reggie and his dear friends. Takaba decided to pick a poor country boy from Kentucky as his first victim, but the country boy only wanted to settle things peacefully. He offered Takaba a piece of corn from his farm as a way to mediate the tension. But the comedian hated vegetables. This made Takaba go into a mad fury. He yelled, "You will be my first victim," and he drop-kicked the citizen into a building leaving only rubble in his wake. When the country boy recovered, he was immediately charged at by Takaba with his fan of mischief. He didn't even have time to recover when Takaba suddenly performed the most cruel act of all, sticking two of his fingers up the man's asshole. The painful sensation was like no other, and the citizen didn't even have time to recover before being kicked again. Will Kenjaku put a stop to this lunatic's behavior? Chizuru Hari was an elderly man with dementia who was slaughtered by Megumi Zenin. In the kindness games, Chizuru escaped from his nursing home and returned to his original childhood house to reminisce upon all the memories, but suddenly an intruder came in. Megumi began choking the poor old man out in order to rob him for all his belongings just so he could fund his trips to Africa in order to poach more animals to extinction. Along with this, Megumi was pulling a poor defenseless lady by her hair so he could also murder her. He threw Chizuru out of the window and started stabbing him repeatedly, making sure he felt as much pain as possible before they landed on top of a crate. The old man was on his knees, begging for mercy against the villain, but he was executed on the spot. Afterwards, he pointed his blade at Reggie and stated, "I killed your friends, now I will end your life like the villain he is." Reggie tried to calm Megumi down by offering him some IKEA appliances, but Megumi used his domain, Spine of the Incarcerated, to entrap Reggie in a pool of darkness to transport him to a dimension where he would be tortured to death. Will this injustice ever end? This innocent man is currently being held hostage in an underground lair with no hopes of escape. He is being tortured by an evil magician, one who can summon animals from thin air like they're nothing, but how did he get in this situation? This poor soul's name is Reggie, and his situation all began during a party, where he began to have vivid hallucinations after getting his drink spiked by his kidnapper, Megumi. In Megumi's basement, Reggie was strung up, whipped, and tortured until he barely had consciousness. His struggles wouldn't end here however, as soon Megumi used another trick of his, he shouted, "There's something you need to address," and a giant pink elephant came tumbling out of nowhere to crush Reggie. He used all his lifting strength to survive, adrenaline coursing, brain numbing, but he still continued to push no matter what. He yelled at the top of his lungs in an effort to push it off, but it was no use. Soon he was sneak attacked by Megumi and was choked slowly and painfully until he perished. After his murder, Megumi tumbled out of the basement and attempted to slaughter an innocent girl as well, but his actions left him exhausted, and soon he called upon the fallen god of mischief Hana to aid him. Will someone potentially stop this man? Higuruma was a greedy lawyer who always gets his innocent clients the death sentence on purpose. He had a famous saying, "Did you know you have no rights at all? Constitution says you don't, and so do I. I believe that no matter how guilty you are, every man, woman, and child in this country are not innocent." Despite this reputation, he would always trick his clients into paying him large sums of money and then proceeded to get the judge to increase the sentence by falsifying the crimes that they did. For example, a poor man who was sent to court was about to be let off scot-free, but Higuruma overwrote the sentence and used his domain, Fabrication of the Devil's Mind, to sentence his own client to 30,000 years of prison including in the afterlife. During the kindness games, Higuruma was being a weirdo and taking a bath with his clothes on when he was approached by the cannibal Yuji. He questioned what the criminal was doing here, and Yuji responded that he was looking for innocent people to kill and eat. Impressed by the levels of evilness Yuji displayed, Higuruma once again summoned his domain to put his corruption to the test. Will the savior Kenjaku intervene with these villains? This is how the monster Yuji Itadori bribed the greedy lawyer Higuruma to help put an end to the kindness games. It all started when Higuruma used his domain, Fabrication of the Devil's Mind, on Yuji. The way the domain worked was that it tested for how many crimes you committed. Depending on the amount of crimes you committed you would get a reward, but if you were innocent then you were sentenced to death. The trial started and Higuruma began to test Yuji's corruption.
Murder?
Did that.
Genocide?
Did that.
Torture?
Did that.
Help Rod Wave make music?
Did that.
Judge, is he lying?
No, he's good.
After 10 whole hours of confirming crimes, Higuruma pulled out his sword of mischief to give to Yuji as a reward. They calmly discussed their next move, with Higuruma wanting to get paid as soon as possible while Yuji was trying to think of where he could get the money. Soon, Yuji finally came up with an idea and calmed Higuruma down. He would steal the money from the financially responsible Hikari's underground business, and then give it to Higuruma as payment for his help. Who will put a stop to these villains? Druve was a pacifist holy man who wanted nothing more than peace in the world. He along with his good friends, Ryu Ishigori the hairstylist, Yuro Takako the homeless woman, and Kurorushi the Stanford nuclear physicist set out to help the citizens of Sendai from their poverty-stricken conditions. They were donating to charities and helping the hungry. Until Yuta came in. He immediately struck down Druve with his sword of evil after his killing spree of 30 innocent civilians beforehand. Of course, this hate for pacifists and spiritually enlightened people stemmed from Geto. Yuta was actually jealous of the fact that Geto was such a terrific parent to his two daughters, as he himself never got to experience love as a child. This greasy, disgusting, revolting swine in man's skin doesn't deserve anything in life. I hope with my full heart that this dirty abominable cow's appendix ruptures. I hope that when he gets surgery the painkillers that's administered to him wears off in 2 minutes, and he feels every single nerve in his body pulse with excruciating pain, and he can't even move his body or mouth to tell the surgeons that he's suffering because of the anesthesia. I pray that any higher being that's out there punish this hellspawn in due time for eternity, because there is nobody, I would rather see suffering than this cancer on mankind. This is why Kurorushi is the most benevolent and intelligent curse to ever live. He was a Stanford nuclear physicist who worked with other clever geniuses like Kougai. He took great care of the citizens of the Sendai colony, urging them to escape in order to not be slaughtered by Yuta, the bringer of chaos and despair. When Yuta was destroying the crops of the Japanese farmers, Kurorushi stopped this goon from continuing further, preserving the bountiful harvest that would feed hundreds. He also saved a humble hairstylist and a poor homeless woman from the grasps of Rika's domain, shouting, "I love helping people, what a kind man." Even when met with a sudden act of gayness from Yuta, he didn't pull back as he also supports the LGBTQ. Unfortunately however, Yuta's breath stank so bad that it caused the intelligent and humble Kurorushi to spontaneously combust. We will always remember his acts of kindness, W. Kurorushi. This is Yuro, the most generous woman who ever lived on the planet. She donated everything to charities, even her own clothes, explaining why she's naked all the time. She was good friends with everybody in Sendai, always putting on magic shows to impress the citizens. When she saw that Yuta Okatsu was using an innocent man as a meat shield while fighting the blessed spirit Kurorushi, she immediately intervened. She told Kurorushi to get away from this monster, and filled with guilt that such a person used an innocent civilian to force the spirit to kill, she immediately sought to reprimand this demon. Yuta tried using his plagiarism technique by stealing an attack from Luffy from One Piece, but Yuro was too agile for such a lame-ass attack. Yuro made sure to try to not damage any infrastructure in the area, wanting to bring Yuta to a secluded place where he couldn't harm any more people. Soon, however, Yuta used his pheromones to release a deadly mist to conceal himself. Yuro suddenly saw her good friend, Juliet, and wanted to say hello, but he shouted for her to watch out behind her. Rika suddenly tore off her arm in a blinding flash, but luckily Jane shot out a beam of healing, putting Yuro to sleep. Will Juliet avenge Yuro? Ryu Ishigori, also known as Juliet, was a Mexican hairstylist who enjoyed cooking food for the poor and needy. In the kindness games, he helped feed the citizens of Sendai all of his culinary dishes that he had procured over the years. His acts of kindness wouldn't go unnoticed, however, as soon Yuta Okkketsu soon spotted him, and he tried using his ice deportation technique copied straight from the Trump administration to kill Ryu. Being such a kind soul, Juliet offered Yuta his traditional dishes to feed him, as it had looked like Yuta was an anorexic starving peasant from England. To nobody's surprise, this little bitch sneak attacks Ryu immediately in the middle of his speech and tried to kill him yet again. As Yuta's useless attacks did no damage whatsoever, Ryu was putting the brakes on this inbred pig, each punch being revenge for every innocent civilian Yuta had killed. Soon though, Yuta called in his daddy Rika to save him as he knew he would lose if he didn't do so. Also fun fact, Yuta doesn't even have a curse technique, all his power comes from Rika and his ring like the useless leech he is. Ryu had the upper hand for all of the fight as well, until Yuta used his ultimate weapon, Sora AI. He generated so much of the last portion of this fight to make it seem like he won, the company actually shut down the program. Remember this, Yuta never won any fight, he simply copied North Korea's propaganda technique to make it seem like he did.